So we have had a lot of weapon balancing and weapon changes around the stats as well as attachments for the Cold War weapons. And in this video, we're going to go over what is the 4 most overpowered guns that are currently inside Warzone that you definitely need to try out. If you enjoy this video and you learn something new, also if you want to stay up to date with weapon comparisons, weapon breakdowns, and overall tips and tricks for Warzone, subscribe to the channel as we try to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers. And on top of that, click the link in the description down below, because when this video goes live, we will be live over on Twitch as well. So like I said, inside Warzone there's 4 guns that stand out above the rest at the current moment, especially inside the meta of Warzone. So once you get into the MAC-10's class setup, you want to make sure firstly that you're using the Gallantry blueprint for the cleaner iron sights. If you don't notice a difference, then there's definitely something wrong with you, but the Gallantry blueprint definitely has the clean iron sights for the MAC-10. Then you want to make sure you're using the AUG suppressor. You get sound suppression, recoil control, bullet velocity, and effective damage range. And after a lot of testing that the community has done around the MAC-10 and the AUG suppressor, you get about a 30% increase to bullet velocity with this attachment, which is amazing. And then you also get recoil control as well, which is also really good. Then for the barrel, you actually have 2 options, and I'll explain why I choose what I choose. But the 2 options you have are the reinforced heavy barrel or the ranger barrel. Now these are the 2 best barrels for the MAC-10. So the reinforced heavy barrel will give you an effective damage range bonus as well as a bullet velocity bonus. And it definitely boosts out your damage range as well as your bullet velocity, but it gives you a con to sprinting movement speed and aim walking movement speed. So it is kind of a con to your overall movement speed, which is a bit annoying. Then the Ranger barrel gives you the best possible bullet velocity for the MAC-10. So now, it depends on what you're really looking for. If you want to extend out that damage range, which I do find to be important with the MAC-10, you do want to use the reinforced heavy barrel. Now you do get a con to movement speed, so you need to compensate for this with other attachments, which we'll get onto in just a moment. But if you don't want to compensate for any movement losses, then the Ranger barrel is definitely a great option, and this gives you the best bullet velocity. But I do feel like extending that damage range is also important with the MAC-10. So in my opinion, I do feel like the reinforced heavy is the best option. Then for the under barrel, we've got 2 options again. We've got the field agent grip and the SFAR1 speed grip. Now, if you want to see a full breakdown with stats and actual movement stats and recoil charts, we've got a whole video based around the MAC-10 and the best class setup for that, including all the stats and stuff. So you can check that out at the end of this one. But if you want a quick overall overview, then the field agent grip is going to help the best with vertical recoil, and it also helps significantly with horizontal recoil. But it does give you a con to firing movement speed and ADS firing movement speed. And then the overall kind of quickest under barrel is the SFAR1 speed grip, because you get sprinting movement speed. You do get a con to overall movement speed, but you will be sprinting most of the time. And then you get the best benefit to horizontal recoil control. Personally, I would always choose the SFAR1 speed grip. Controlling vertical recoil with an SMG is very easy, so I would choose the SFAR1 speed grip here. Then for ammunition, it's the Stanag 53 round drum. You have to choose this option. You don't get any benefit with the Salvo 53 round mags. Then for the stock, we created a whole separate video breaking down the last 3 stocks, going over individual stats for the ADS firing movement speed, aim walking movement speed, sprint to fire speeds, and absolutely everything. Even going over the con of hip fire accuracy on all 3 of these stocks as well. So if you want to see that video, I'll link it in the description too. But we found out that the Raider stock was overall the best, in my opinion. The fastest movement you would get from the SAS combat stock, but you do get the sprint to fire bonus exactly the same as you would with the no stock, also on the Raider stock. And that's why I would prefer the Raider stock, because I do use automatic tac sprint, and having that faster sprint to fire is really important. Now, if you don't have automatic tac sprint turned on, the SAS combat stock might be the best option for you, but I do use automatic tac sprint, and the Raider stock is the best option. So there we have what I believe to be the best class setup for the MAC-10 at the moment. And this gun is not super overpowered, but is definitely the best SMG in the game at the moment. And on top of that, if you don't want your class setup to be using the exact same ammo for both guns, the MAC-10 is a great option, so you can use it with a primary weapon. Next, we're moving on to what is the best close range weapon in all of Warzone right now, and this gun absolutely fries. There is no competition in terms of close range to the FFAR1, especially because it has such a low time to kill. For the muzzle attachment, you want to use the AUG suppressor. You get sound suppression to stay off the minimap, vertical recoil control, which is definitely needed for the FFAR1, the faster bullet velocity, like I said, and you boost out your effective damage range. You do get a con to aim down sight speed and aiming stability, but we can make up for this in other attachments. So the agency suppressor is definitely the best option for your muzzle. For the barrel, you have quite a few options here. So the three that are very viable are the reinforced heavy barrel, the ranger barrel, and the takedown barrel. So the reinforced heavy barrel will extend out your damage range, which is also quite important depending on how you want to use this weapon, and it also gives you a good bonus to bullet velocity. Your overall cons are in terms of movement speed as well as aim walking movement speed. Then your other option is the ranger barrel. Now this barrel gives you the fastest possible bullet velocity out of all the barrels for the FFAR1. So if you do like having that kind of hit scan kind of weapon, then the ranger barrel is your best option. Then the takedown barrel is my personal favorite. You do get a good bonus to bullet velocity. It's definitely not the best in terms of bullet velocity, but then you do get that faster strafe speed, and equipped with other attachments, this just makes you move so quickly. And especially using it at close range, this could be a huge benefit to you dodging a lot of enemy bullets. So I use the takedown barrel, but like I said, there is a lot of other great options out there as well. Then for the under barrel, you've got two options once again. So you can use the field agent grip, which is going to help with vertical as well as horizontal recoil, with a con to your firing movement speed and a con to your ADS firing movement speed. And again, if you want to see a full breakdown of how these attachments affect your guns, we've got a whole separate video dedicated to the FFAR1 going over the stats, and we'll link that in the description like I said. But then the other option is the SFOD speed grip. Now this gives you sprinting movement speed and the best horizontal recoil control, but it does give you a con to movement speed. But this is my personal favorite grip for the FFAR1, because having that sprinting movement speed makes this gun feel more like an SMG instead of an assault rifle. Then for ammunition, it's absolutely a no-brainer that you use the 50-round salvo mags. Again, we've tested all of this, and these actually work out to have the fastest reload, give you the fastest aim down sight time, and have the largest mags possible. Then the last attachment, you want to equip a stock. We did do, again, some thorough testing on the Raider stock, the SAS combat stock, and the CQB pad. And overall, we found that the Raider stock works the best. Again, you get that bonus of sprint to fire time. You also get the aim walking movement speed bonus, and you also do get the ADS firing movement speed bonus. And also the Raider stock does move faster than the SAS combat stock in this case. So that's why we do choose the Raider stock. But if you want a firing movement speed bonus, the SAS combat stock could be a great option too. So like I said, both of these last two stocks are great options, but I just prefer the Raider stock. So there we have the best FFAR1 build in my opinion. Like I said, some of these attachments actually can be swapped out to give you a different kind of barrel depending on how you want to run the weapon, or a slightly different stock depending on what you value more. But like I said, this gun absolutely fries enemies so quickly. There's literally no competition, and if you add stopping rounds to this gun, it's pretty much impossible to stop. So the FFAR1 is definitely probably the most overpowered gun inside Warzone right now. So now that we've covered close range, how about some of those longer range weapons that you could pair the previous two weapons with? So we have the AUG from Cold War, and with this gun, it's an absolute beamer at range, especially because of that agency suppressor buff. This gun is absolutely amazing right now. So for the muzzle attachments, you want to use the agency silencer once again. This is the best attachment to use on any Cold War gun. So you get sound suppression again, vertical recoil control, faster bullet velocity, and effective damage range boosts. And your only cons are to aim down sight speed and aiming stability. So you want to use the agency suppressor. Then for the barrel, the strike team barrel is the best barrel for the AUG at the moment. You actually get a bullet velocity bonus, which is not stated in game, and you also get a faster fire rate. And then you do get a con to your effective damage range and aiming stability, but you don't really notice this all that much because you are using the agency suppressor stacked on top of this. So the strike team barrel is definitely the barrel that you should be using. Then for the under barrel, again, you do have two options, but not really in this case because the field agent grip does stand out above the rest. The SFOD speed grip is a good option if you do want slightly faster movement, but at the ranges that you will be using the AUG at, the field agent grip is definitely the best because it helps with vertical as well as horizontal recoil control, and it does give you a con to firing movement speed and ADS firing movement speed. But with this gun, it is a long range gun, so you don't really need to be moving super quick when firing this gun. Then for ammunition, after a lot of testing, we found that the 45 round speed mags is the best option to give you larger magazines, a quicker reload, and no con to your aim down sight time. So you would choose the 45 round speed mags. Then for the optic, you have to use the Axial Arms 3x optic. Now, this is going to not only give you a good zoom to give you really good visuals on your opponents, but on top of that, it actually helps with your horizontal recoil, believe it or not. We've done a lot of testing on this as well in previous videos, and the Axial Arms 3x optic helps with horizontal recoil. But one thing I would highly recommend is changing your reticle. Now, if you don't have any other reticles unlocked, make sure you stick with the default one. This gives you less of a parallax effect. And if you don't know what that is, we'll leave a link in the description as well to a video that True Game Data made about parallax and what it means for your scopes. But one that I found works super well is this one right here. This reticle is the one that I've been using on the AUG, and it's absolutely clean as hell. Now, when you use it in game, you'll see what I'm talking about. All the other ones are really pixelated and weird, and I've even purchased this bundle from the store to try and get as close to a blue dot as I possibly can. But again, this one's really pixelated. This one that you get in the Season 1 Battle Pass is the best optic. It gets rid of all of that parallax effect, first of all, which is absolutely amazing. And it also gives you a really clean dot to know where your bullets are firing. Now, obviously, the outer rings can be a bit annoying at some times, but this is the closest thing we've got to a red dot sight on the Cold War weapons. So this is the one I would highly recommend. Once you try this, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And there we have the best long range build for the AUG. This gun absolutely beams at range. You're not going to lose a single gunfight if you come up against someone with an AMAX or any other weapon other than an AUG, of course. But this gun is literally the best long range gun inside Warzone at the moment, and you have to use it. So a gun that not a lot of people are actually talking about is the M16. Now, if you do want a mix up from the AUG, now don't get me wrong, it's not a huge mix up because it's still a burst fire tactical rifle. But if you do want to change it from the AUG to something else, the M16 did get a buff as well, like the rest of the weapons, because it did get that agency suppressor buff. So you do want to use the agency silencer once again for that sound suppression, recoil control, bullet velocity, and effective damage range bonus. Then for the barrel, again, the strike team barrel is the best performer for the M16 as well as the AUG. So you do want to use the strike team barrel in this case as well. Then for the underbarrel, again, you want to use that Field Agent foregrip or the SFOD speed grip, but like I said, the Field Agent works the best in this case. So you want to equip the Field Agent foregrip for the horizontal as well as vertical recoil control. Then for ammunition, we haven't really tested the M16 ammunition, so you could choose absolutely any one you want here, but the ones that we found work really well are the 45 round speed mags, or just the standard 45 round mags. You don't need anything bigger than that. So usually we use the standard 45 round mags. And then lastly, for the optic, again, you want to use that Axial Arms 3x optic because this is going to help you with that horizontal recoil and it's going to give you a really good zoom. And on top of that, like I said, make sure you customize that reticle. If you do have the bullseye reticle from Season 1, make sure you do equip it because like I said, this is the cleanest reticle you could get. So there you have it, the best M16 build. So there we have the 4 most overpowered guns inside Warzone at the moment. And like I said, if you're not using these weapons, you're kind of out of touch with the meta at the moment because these guns are super powerful inside Warzone and you need to be using at least one of these guns inside your loadouts. And like I said, make sure you equip that bullseye reticle if you are using the Axial Arms on the M16 or even the AUG. You will thank me for it later. And don't forget to click the link in the description to follow us over on Twitch. We will be live streaming as this video goes live. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, as we want to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers, and thank you very much for watching.